am with Josh Van Hoesen,
Van Hoesen.
who is Dutch. That is Dutch, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, very good. A lot of people are
That's
like
a
German.
Dutch.
I'm like, no, Dutch.
Yeah. You know why I know that? Again, with the political science from apartheid.
Oh, well, okay then.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's who I'm with. Now, Josh is running for Alder of what
Ward
ward?
26.
Thank you very much. Which encompasses, which
Westville.
encompasses, which is
Correct.
where,
Yeah.
Josh?
Oh my goodness. So I'm really bad geographically. So it's up by Mitchell Library and it goes across the street down to the circle and then down towards Edgewood Park, though it cuts over at a weird portion, which I don't know why. And then all the way up.
Unbelievable.
It borders the 27th, literally splits, which this one always cracks me up, down the middle of West Prospect Street. So I'm in the 26th. I can wave to my neighbor across the street who's in the 27th, but then halfway down the street, so before it meets the main road, it actually becomes full Ward 27.
And West Hills is 22, isn't it?
Yes. I
Yeah.
always have to look at a map for these things. Or if I'm out knocking, I know by the streets.
Right. So that was, part of Josh and I, before we started, before I turned on record, we were talking about the mayor's appearance at our community management team meeting on Wednesday evening. And it was very well attended. And you know what I wish, Josh, in retrospect? I wish we could have dispensed with all of the updates. You know what I mean? Because Lieutenant Rosa didn't have anything to say. He admitted it. He said, we've been quiet. Next.
Yeah.
The guy from LCI couldn't get his thing to work, so that was nothing.
Which was unfortunate. I did need to reach out to him.
Yeah. The only thing of consequence was the Renaissance Association.
Yep,
Or
WVRA, which I always call WIVRA.
Yeah, and Art Walk, and that was interesting, but that was also something that I think could have waited. Although maybe not. But anyway, so a lot of these things could have waited, and we could have spent the entire time with the mayor talking about the budget. Now, here's my problem with this budget, and then I'm gonna just let you rip because you're the one running for Alder. I'm just sitting around watching the Titanic, in other words. First of all, it's like we were just talking about. I think that the budget of New Haven, the money, the finances, everything needs an audit. I think we need an audit, if not by the state, then a federal audit, and it needs to be an independent auditor. Because I think the people of New Haven are being disserviced by this fuzzy math that we've got going on. You cannot tell me that 13 months ago he's talking about, well, we only need to raise taxes 3%, and then there was a surplus, and then there was a raising taxes again, and now here we sit in a debacle of $66 million deficit. Are you out of your mind? And I don't mean you.
Yeah, no, I know. Now part of the feedback.
And
Part of it.
So let me just finish this one part and then I'm going to let you rip, okay? His responses at the meeting Wednesday, not only was it rude, a lot of the responses that he made were dismissive. It was illogical. It made no sense. He did not address the excesses in the fire department, of which there are many. He did not, I wrote a little, I recorded a little thing that I put on my Facebook page. And I said this: you don't want to adjust salaries for administrators. You don't want to take a look at these because they're under a contract. a portion of these salaries. But let me tell you something. I've read 5 billion contracts in my life, and I know every word about them. I've rewritten them. Alex, just for her job, we just got a new contract. So there was a revision of her existing contract. I know contracts can be played with. In this city, 1 in 7 children goes to bed hungry every night. Okay, that's a fact. That's from a federal data bank. Knowing that, and you want Mayor Elliker to, because these guys are available to answer the phone at midnight, you want their salaries and everything about their lives to be protected. You know, the police chief gets a home allowance, right? She gets a little extra pay there. You want their salaries to be kept at bay, won't consider a furlough day, won't consider a 10% pay cut, won't do any of that. Yet you are asking the residents of the city of New Haven to foot the bill for what is an absurdity. No one on the Board of Alders has this sort of financial experience and intelligence to deal with this kind of money. There's just no way they do. We all know these people. We know their backgrounds. We know their education. We know their specialties, and this ain't it. And with that, Josh, I give you the floor.
So I would say in general, the budgeting process doesn't necessarily lend support to individuals who are asking questions who are not necessarily knowledgeable in finance. And so this is a big complaint that I had or have, is the actual process in which it occurs, and when like public sessions and public input, and when like different department heads meet, because I think the community has a lot of great input in regards to what we can do with the budget, but we have these kind of one-off situations where we can give input but not necessarily ask the sort of questions that knowledgeable community members might be able to ask of these, department heads and other city staff in regards to justifying these numbers, and even the management side of things. I mean, come on, we don't have some of these executive level positions that would kind of help kind of manage these monetary discrepancies in regards to what is being budgeted, what is being spent, and what is actually needed. So
Here's
it's
my-
tough, but
Yeah.
with that, they should know enough that some of the places that we've gotten into that we're acting surprised now that we're there is a little disingenuous. We've known for years that our return rate on our pensions is too high. Like, that has been a fact. That is not, oh no. So, but we've continued to approve budgets with these sorts of numbers in them, and that's why we get here. So at least in the future, one of the major things to do is that we have to control some of our fixed costs. And I have not read nearly as many contracts as you. I don't have quite as much experience.
I'm old, Josh.
I was gonna say I don't have as much experience under my belt. I am a project. Nice. I am a project manager, so I do read contracts. I have had to write contracts. I've owned a small business before. I'm actually starting another small business now.
You are.
So
yeah,
fun times. Oh goodness, I got slightly off track there.
Contracts.
Right, contracts, writing contracts. I was making a point there.
Fixed costs.
Oh, right. Sorry. Thank you. Fixed costs. Right. So with contracts, there may be some wiggle room. I know. So with the fixed cost aspect of things, there may be potential to shift contracts around now, but any of the sort of gives that you would be able to wrangle out of and this is just my perspective. I haven't reviewed all of these in depth.
You and me both. I mean, we're not.
Yeah.
We're no more experts than guys on the Board of Alders.
Right. So if you were able to
somewhere.
wrangle some of these long-term agreements out, and so things in regards to that is like putting in an age start for when you can draw your pension. So, you can't start to draw until you're this age. Instead of just having it, well, you can work here for X amount of years and then you go get another full-time job after retiring and draw pension and benefits plus have all of that. And I am not saying people shouldn't get paid for the work that they have done and they've deserved. But at least my understanding of pensions when they were first developed was to make sure that, like, when you're done and out and you're done working and retired, then you don't have to worry. It's not about the market, or you have stability
Right,
after you have done your good and put in your hard work.
right.
So it's the sort of like drawing a benefit while you're still putting in your good hard work, and we have to pay for it is kind of a hard ask. But to
How
give
come
up
my
sort of
house
those
is so
long-term
busy?
things, I know that they would ask for higher, like, right now costs, which is difficult with the financial situation that we're in.
You know what?
We
What do you think about this pilot thing from Looney here?
Oh, so I mean, I think it's going to go through. Like, why we're still talking about a crisis budget and like shutting down the library in any regard is kind of baffling to me. I don't think it's going to be there. I don't think it ever really needed to be at that. I do agree that, like, yes, that's a potential. You can shut down a library to save money. But one thing that I learned, because I love the comment section of the New Haven Independence, so apparently, and I could be completely wrong about this, there was a time when one of the previous mayors had shut down libraries, not like one library completely all the time, but had done it in a rotation to sort of save money through the library
What the
system. And
hell
then,
kind of stupidity is that?
right, but it also makes more sense than shutting down an entire library in a neighborhood, because then you're not depriving this entire neighborhood of this service. You're just reducing the level of service throughout the entire, city, which is itself not a good thing, but not as bad as depriving an entire community of a service. And a library is a service. It's one of the
How
few
much are
places
they
that
going
you
to
can just.
save? Let's just assume that they decide that they're going to go through with this idiotic notion of the shutting the Mitchell Library.
Well, I'm curious what
Um,
they'd use the building for.
huh?
I said I'm
What?
curious what they'd use the building for.
Yeah, that plus
Maybe
how much are
Yale
you
wants to buy
really?
it.
Yeah, right. How much are you really saving? How much is, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you've got staff, so but that's the difficult thing, because Mayor Elliker said he doesn't want to get rid of staff. So if we close a library, are
What are
we
you
getting
saying
rid
on the
of
light
those?
bill? What do
Well, yeah, just
know?
in general, he just said, because he didn't want to cut any positions.
So you
So
don't
if we
want to
get
get
rid
rid
of
of
the
people?
library, yeah, are we just going to transfer the people somewhere else? And we know that's where the majority of our costs are, the fixed employee costs.
Of
So,
course. I mean, aside from getting rid of the people, um,
and don't get me wrong, I don't like the concept of firing people,
of course not.
telling
Yeah,
someone that they have to find another means to support themselves. But
yeah,
in the private, I think about this a lot because I think on the municipal level, you do have to think about it as a private business. Because unlike the federal government, we can't just print money. I wish. No, I don't wish.
no, not here in New Haven.
Right, but if
The
a company,
behavior of like acting like we print it, no.
right, if a company hires more employees than they have a revenue to support, eventually that company is going to go under. And then when
Exactly.
that company goes under, what happens to all of those employees?
Right,
Now no one has a job.
right.
And eventually we would technically get there with New Haven, because what would occur is eventually our credit rating would get to the point where we couldn't get bonded out. And then we would either have to go under rescue by the state or declare bankruptcy, which also requires state approval. Which is,
Well,
and
the thing is
I
too,
know a lot of
nobody,
people have said that bankruptcy would solve our issues, but I don't think that's the case.
well,
And
I don't know. My feeling about this is that, wait a minute here. I'm sorry, Josh. I'm having trouble. See how fuzzy I am?
yeah, I saw that. I've been going in and out a bit as well.
Okay, so maybe it's just our connection, but anyhow. Um, I don't think, I think part of this for me with this budget stuff, and I want to move on from the budget at some point so we can talk about you and your run and all that kind of stuff. But part of this budget thing for me is what are we going to learn from this process? That's part of the problem why I have a big problem. I understand the need for the payment in lieu of taxes. Okay, we're not looking at um, Yale is not going to pony up no cash anytime soon. They never have. They're not gonna.
Yeah.
Um, and so to constantly be yammering on and yammering on about Yale, which is a good portion of what the mayor did Wednesday night, stop it. Just stop it. What are you learning from this process? What I see that you're learning from this process is nothing. And that we're going to be right back here, exactly the same place the next time, because we're not learning anything. We're not fixing anything. We're just putting a band aid on something that just keeps happening and happening and happening. There has to be enough intelligence of people in this community, et cetera, where we can figure out a way to knock it off with spending so much money that we ain't got,
Yeah.
you know? And when we talk about payment in lieu of taxes, so we're going to get bailed out. What are we learning from that? You know, what are we fixing? What are we repairing? Because to put a band aid on is more than we should expect from the residents of New Haven. In a city where the median income is so low, why should we expect this sort of we're never going to we're never going to get anywhere. You know, when you got the board of alders giving tax breaks to these wealthy developers at the speed of light, 60% of the city is non-taxed, wealthy nonprofits, you know, excessive spending by the fire department. um I felt at the end of that meeting on Wednesday that we had just been hosed. And I was insulted by that because how dare you, Mayor Elliker, think that we are all so damn dumb that we would buy this political game playing you're trying to do. He tried to do this a long time ago when he first ran for mayor, when he was facing Gary Winfield. This sort of posturing and maneuvering, and it didn't work for him then. And it's not going to work for him now, you know? But that having been said, let's talk about Josh, which is why we're here, right? Why do you want to run for Alder?
Oh my goodness. I want to run for Alder because I think the city's in a difficult spot, both financially and kind of a system management standpoint. I've lived my life in, I would say, a variety of socioeconomic positions. My family was not necessarily well-to-do growing up, though we ended up with some money, which helped my brother and I through college. I worked a lot, though. I had 3 jobs also during college to help me pay for things. Then I got a job as a computer scientist. I bought a house in New Haven, and I ended up living with a bunch of other people. And I just had a couple of situations kind of right off the bat with them. And some of them were with New Haven, some of them were with the state, that just showed how small little inefficiencies can really hurt people who are not in a position to like weather the storm, so to speak.
Right.
And this is a great example, and I felt terrible for the individual. So I used to live with a gentleman. You know, we were early 20s. All the dude did was work and then come home and sleep, and then go and work and come home and sleep. So he worked at his family's restaurant, and he also worked trying to become a mechanic. And the dude just had the worst luck in the world. He got like a jaw infection, had all his teeth pulled, you know, sick
Oof.
for 3 months. but he finally, between all of his jobs, arranges a night off so he can take this girl to dinner from down the street that he'd been wooing. Right.
Wooing.
Hey, we
How
were
cute.
classy, sophisticated gentlemen at that household.
Good for you.
So he takes her to the restaurant. He comes out of the restaurant and his car is gone. Now, why is his car, one might ask? It's because New Haven towed it for being delinquent in taxes. Now, they had been sending his letter, all his tax bill information to East Haven because we lived up by Tweed Airport, so we were right on the shared zip code. Even though his registration said New Haven, they were sending it to East Haven. So he was delinquent on his taxes, and he didn't know. Like, you're working 3 jobs, you don't come home and go, oh man, I haven't gotten my tax bill today. You go, oh man, I'm so glad I can go to bed.
Yeah.
And it was tough on him. It was money he couldn't afford to spend, and he also felt terribly embarrassed. He
So
didn't
much
have
for a
money.
second date.
Right. It didn't happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So much for getting the second date.
Right.
You're not getting no second date. No.
Yeah.
Isn't that a shame?
Right. So, there are situations like that. I'm a small time landlord myself. So one of my goals growing up was that I wanted to own a home. It was a big thing for me. Worked real hard, saved money. I had friends that were going, summer vacation or spring break. They're going to, travel and whatnot. I'm
Right.
going to my hometown so I can work at the old fashioned soda fountain and make more money to put away. But it sucks when I have to raise rent. And it's tough. So, and so I've bought a second house at this point. I'm up in Ward 26. I actually used to be in Ward 18. But I rent that house out. And I rent it, bottom market rate. It's $1,450. I actually lowered the rent. Was $1,500. Well, so I refinanced. So I refinanced my house because of the much lower interest rates that are now versus when I bought it. And I was able to lower my payments by, I was like, $300. So I was able to pass some of those savings on to them. I was going to pass more on, but we have this lovely tax increase and reassessment. But I hate that because when I know people are having a hard time just paying their regular bills at times, and they did. So during COVID, they were all restaurant workers. They all got laid off.
Yep.
And the really unfortunate thing, especially with the first round of stimulus checks that had gone out, is they're all green card holders. So they couldn't apply for all of that, and they were very concerned, especially with the political climate at the time, that if they applied for any of the like unemployment benefits or any of that, it would reflect negatively on their citizenship application.
Right.
Which is super unfortunate because they're super hardworking family, great individuals. And so it's really rough when taxes increase and I have to pass that costs on.
It's just a snowball effect,
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people in politics today understand the concept of snowball.
Right.
And
it adds up.
and I love people who say, well, I'm not really into politics. Yeah, you are, because politics is in every single aspect of your life, whether you like it or not. The air you breathe, the money you spend in the grocery store, what you bought your car for, what you bought your house for, how much your kids get when they go to school. Every single thing in the world is ruled by our political climate. That's the way it goes, And so tell me this. You are up. Has Daryl Bracken, has he said he's going to run, or is he not?
So I know the Independent reached out to him and he didn't respond in regards to that request, whether he was running or not. I haven't gotten confirmation from him personally. I have spoken to at least one individual who knows him, and they have suggested that yes, he is planning on running, which means
Isn't
I
there
am
like a
totally going to
deadline?
challenge him to a debate. There is, but it's not for a while. Technically, I declared really early.
Okay.
But that's just because I wanted to get things out there, especially with budgeting season. I wanted to be able to kind of talk about these things.
You can never
Kind of in
start too early. People
an
think that, but they're wrong.
official, candidate manner.
So what's the difference between you and him?
So I would say my background in finance puts me in a position where I can really understand the long-term consequences of some of our financial decisions. I don't necessarily think in the past that he has been able to do that.
For example.
So, for example, one of the previous budgets, and last time I ran, he went on about, and I have looked them up. So he had made at one point some amendments to reduce the budget, and this was years ago. It was 2015, 2016, I believe. But definitely in the last budget and the one previously, when there's two sides to the budget. There's how much you're going to spend and how are you going to pay for it. So he voted yes on the how much we're going to spend, but he voted no on the how are we going to pay for it. So he went,
come on.
I want to spend all this money, but I don't want to raise your taxes. If you're
See, there's what I'm talking about. Okay.
You can't do
right
that.
There.
You can't play both sides.
You cannot live like a millionaire on a buck. That's just the way it is,
And if you're saying, listen, I don't want us to raise the money this way, you have to give an alternative. And I don't necessarily think that he has the background or experience to be able to necessarily look at the full scope of the numbers in the system and make that determination.
Right.
Now, he and I'm not saying he's this terrible Alder. I've listened to his committee meetings. He seems knowledgeable on some of the things that he's talking about. But we've got 30 alders that are very much focused on, a lot of the social issues and, the green energy issues, which I'm a fan of both of those issues as well. They're things that are very important. They need to be addressed.
Right.
We cannot address either of them effectively as a city institution if we don't have, the money means to do it, because the money drives the capabilities and the resources to be able to accomplish those other goals.
Right.
And so we need a couple more alders focused on how are we going to provide the resources to accomplish these goals that we want to accomplish.
And you don't have, at present, there's no alders that, it used to be that the president of the Board of Alders, my dearest darling friend, George Perez, he's a banking commissioner, for God's sakes now. So you had that sort of driving force on the Board of Alders. You can't get better than that, really. And so you had that. There's nobody there now who knows how to deal with this kind of money.
Yeah, it's definitely complex, so and there are a lot of numbers.
Let's talk about some other things. You grew up in Nantucket.
I did. First camped in New Hampshire, which is way up northern New Hampshire. And then, I moved to Nantucket when I was 8 with my mom and my brother, and was there until I went to college.
You're single?
No, so I've got a lovely girlfriend.
Right.
Yep. So she actually moved from Nantucket to Connecticut.
Okay.
And now she works at a local pottery place, which is super cool. It impresses the hell out of me because I'm not very good at artsy things. And not only is it an artsy thing, but it's like the amount of skill and control you need in your hands to be able to make some of these things, I find incredibly impressive.
Yeah,
Um,
it is. It is. You're absolutely right. Where's this place?
so it's in the, I want to say it's Amity Plaza. So, you know where the Stop and Shop is? Past the
Are you
Five
talking
Guys on the
about Clay
left?
Date and Clay?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Playdate.
it's not there
Yep.
anymore. They
The
moved.
Clay Date?
Yeah.
Oh, no. It's still there.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
up by the
okay.
grocery store. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
right
to the
by
right
the
of
pet store.
the pizza place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right
Yep.
next. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Um.
pet store that got broken into through the wall.
Yeah, and so the resolution to that or the solution to that is to put a gate down in the front. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm not even
because I
going to
think
touch that.
well, I think they broke in through the side business
They
and
sure
then through the
did.
wall. But
Yeah, this woman who lives down the way down the block here, she's worked stands for a long, long time, and she was telling me all about it. But so anyway, I grew up in Nantucket, moved down here to Connecticut. Uh, you're like this Uber tech guy. Um, you're now how do I want to put this? Very, very bright. You claim you're not a
oh, I
prodigy.
appreciate that.
Well, you are. And you're going to claim you're not a prodigy, but I think you're damn close. Okay.
Well, I
And
appreciate that.
no problem. And and um you are young, white, um financially stable. Aside from the money, what's the biggest thing in your mind right at this minute? What's the biggest thing, Josh? And I don't care about whatever topic you want to talk about, whether it be, my point is that I want people to walk away from this after having seen this to understand and to know the Josh that I know. Okay.
Gotcha.
And I don't know you as good as your girlfriend or your family or anybody else, but I know who I know and I'm loyal to whom I'm loyal to, and I get you, you know, even though we're like eons apart in age and experience and so on and so forth, you know. But I want you to do this because I think you have a remedy for success for the city of New Haven. And so I want people to understand that this is who Josh is and this is why he should have this position. So the floor is yours, darling.
Got you. So I would say what typically is on my mind is systems and kind of how to improve them. And I do it a lot, both professionally and personally, and it is kind of what's on my mind a lot. And so what I mean by that is when I'm given a problem or introduced to a problem, I kind of like to see what solutions or systems exist to solve it. And then if one doesn't solve it,
What's a system?
um, so for example, you know, we've got the crime problem. We had a big property crime, or do have a big property crime in New
Right,
Haven. You
right.
know, so what is the system or the means to help reduce property crime?
Hmm.
And I know we talked about this a bunch. So, you know, like block watches, you know, security camera systems, you know, more police presence out in the streets. So then from there, my mind goes, okay, well, what do we have in place and what can I help, you know, address at kind of where I am? So from a personal level, you know, yes, I can try and get more police presence by talking to the mayor about the budget and the alders and things along those lines.
Uh-huh.
You know, for the block watch, I can be part of the CMT and, you know, talk to the neighbors, you know, about these programs and how to become involved in them. You know, for the security camera, which is actually the one that I have recently been caught on, because this was a what can I do at a personal level with my tech knowledge. So I've started developing, and people are always, you know, concerned about data security.
Right.
So I've started or am starting a local security camera company. So residents, and this truly is focused in New Haven right now.
Right.
So residents would be able to sign up. They would get a camera installed on their house, and then they would have access to it and be able to get recordings for up to 2 days and have them directly sent to like the police, or download themselves and use it for whatever. Um,
And how you
yeah,
gonna, and so what's your big negative, Josh?
my big
Every,
negative.
yeah, everybody's got a thing they do really, really well, and then everybody's got a thing they're not so good at. For example,
Oh,
for example, it when I am passionate about something, it is very hard for me, has been all my life. I'm a child of the 60s, and it's very hard for me to pull back. It's very hard for me to pull back and control myself. And over the years, my mouth has been my detriment. It's also been the best thing in the world for me, but it can be very, very um, polarizing, you know. So what's bad? What's your detriment, Josh?
ooh, what's my detriment?
Kind of like a job application. So what do you think is your negative? You got any?
Um,
Can you follow through on things?
yes, yeah. Oh, I can definitely. If I couldn't follow through on things, I would have been fired by now. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Okay.
I have to deal with like multi-million-dollar companies. They'd be super grumpy with me if I didn't follow through, and then my boss would be super grumpy with me, and then that would be no bueno. Um, I would say I can get very frustrated. That is my detriment. Um, and I can get very frustrated about times and too tied up in things that I can't necessarily control.
Yeah.
Uh,
I can
and
understand
it's a waste of time and energy, and it's something that I have diligently been working on. So I actually quit Facebook because I found I was getting way too tied up in things that I could not have any sort of meaningful impact about, and just
so
getting frustrated. And
how would you be able then to push through things that you want to push through on the board of alders I'm talking about, you know?
oh, so the great thing about that is that I'm part of the process. So I'm not like necessarily impotent, I think is the word for it. Um, and so as long as I have that focus, or and if like I get frustrated now when the board of alders does certain things because I have no control, I have no real say over that. If you're part of the board, you have a voice there. Um, Yeah, and I wouldn't necessarily, in regards to detriment, I see it more as a personal detriment. Again, it's time and energy that could be put towards more productive things. And I guess, especially as a software engineer, I hate inefficiency. So for me to see myself waste that kind of time and emotional energy on some of these things, um, yeah, I just kick myself for it sometimes. But
Um,
again, that's why I got off social media. That's why, I've pulled back from those things that aren't really, they're not relevant to me. So why am I putting the energy into them?
yeah. Should I see how I'm getting even fuzzier as we go
Yeah.
along?
And I feel like I've gotten clearer. Maybe I'm stealing your pixels.
That recording statistic clear accessibility. Touch up my appearance. Let's go for that.
Oh goodness.
Nah, it's not helping. Ah, what the hell? We all know what I look like. So, um, I want this for you so badly, not just because of, no, I really do, Josh. I mean it sincerely. And not because I, like you personally, not because I think, oh yeah, he'd be the great man for the job. No, it's that I want to see you as someone who can help New Haven. And I believe that's who you are, and I believe that's what you can do is help New Haven.
I very much appreciate that. And
Am I
I
right?
really do want to try and help New Haven. I see how residents suffer. The troubles that individuals face. How some of our systems fail, and through their failing, hurt us.
Yeah. How are you gonna now do you feel like you're relatively known or unknown in this arena? See, part of the problem I think with these alders is they've been around so long, they're popular, and
Yeah, and
what they
and
get
the thing with
reelected.
Daryl is, he grew up in New Haven.
Oh God,
Can't get more hometown than that.
yeah,
But on the other side, it gives me an outside perspective. You know,
new blood,
right?
new blood.
Um,
How are you gonna do this? How are you going
oh,
to
so
get this?
first, I'm gonna introduce my fellow alders to some of the project management techniques we use in the private sector, and really, they're super simple things. But it's just kind of keep track of stuff, and some of this falls down onto like a constituent services thing. Yeah, I don't know how many times I've had a resident during some meeting or other, ask an alder, hey, we talked about this. Where are we with things? And they've gone, follow through with me and we'll see. And you'll have
Here's
that a couple
something.
times.
Here's something that I've thought about. Okay, here's part of my problem with these management team meetings. It's a fait accompli, right? We're talking about things that have already happened, right?
Yeah, because
When
they're
Adam
just to present
Marchand,
information.
when Marchand comes out and or Honda or on the chance that one day we may even see Richard Furlow again, you know. Um,
At least we've seen him. Though
hey, I know he's
and
real. Yeah,
yep.
good point.
Though Adam did make a very good point that people should be cognizant about is that
How
there is the
baloney.
caucus.
How baloney. You gonna pat it? Are you going to base your campaign on one group of people, Josh? If
Oh
so,
no, absolutely. But one
there
thing
you
that
go.
we did discuss as the CMT board is that we may do look at doing alternating days or potentially changing the date, because we would like it if the alders could attend,
Yeah, a lot of people
or
are with
or
Zoom. It's been a
submit
blessing.
an update. Yeah,
Yeah, it's been a blessing because I know a lot of people have gone to two meetings simultaneously, so I'm not buying that little ploy. But anyway,
that is a little rude though.
yeah, yeah, yeah. 6 months, I think you ought to at least show your face a little. So that's part of my problem is that I don't know that with the current Alder system, that the actual voters get to play a part in how. Let me give you an example, okay? I know Gary Winfield. We've been friends and colleagues and campaign workers and the whole shebang for a number of years. All right. And one of the things that Gary does is before he's the legislative, or the Senate season is going to start, he sends out information telling you what's coming. Okay. And then he is in touch on all these social media platforms with regard to those things. Okay. So it gets it away from him personally. And he gets a consensus before he does anything. He still votes with his heart. That will
Right.
always rule. But he knows where you stand and you know where he stands relatively. Okay. So that's what kind of bugs me. It's like they come to the meetings and it's information only, but it's like, well, So now we're left with, I mean, I don't know how Richard Furlow has voted for the last 6 months. I don't know even if he has voted. I know
So
nothing. So
it's hard to necessarily figure out what they voted on either. And I had another resident complain about this. They went, yeah, so I requested to know like what the votes were at the last meeting, and all they did was send me the recording of the entire thing.
you know, and it's like I have the right to give my input before you decide, because I'm not cool with this giving away tax dollars to these wealthy developers. I'm just not cool.
Yeah,
with
I'm not a fan of that either.
So, but
And
let's not get
yeah, so
bogged down in that. But why? So,
constituent
what are
services
you
is
gonna
something
do?
I definitely.
What are
Oh,
you
so
gonna
I'm
do?
gonna. This is another one of those like private sector sort of things, and I say that because I think it should just be a normal thing.
Mhm.
So one part of constituent services that I think is super important is kind of that face-to-face talk, as you were talking about, and being able to discuss issues with the neighborhood, which the CMT meetings are not good for. So I definitely plan on having what I will most likely call community stand-ups, which
I
is
think that's excellent. And
yep,
you should do
one
it before you vote.
yeah, so it'll most likely be once every 2 weeks. I'll have a Zoom / in-person meeting.
Right.
Probably be for a couple of hours. People can come. I'll let them know what's coming up. My thoughts on the different subjects and how I'm gonna swing with things, and get their input, because goodness gracious, the community is full of great, brilliant individuals
Exactly.
who know more than I do on some of these subjects.
And they know
Like,
about New
why
Haven.
not use these resources?
Yeah, and they know about New Haven. And why not use a
Right.
resource to make your job easier, which is
Yeah.
basically what you're gonna, you know what I mean? And can I just offer you a suggestion? Feed
Always.
people. Feed people. Feed people. So in other words, you want to have people show up? Give them
Give
free
them
hot
food.
dogs and root beer.
I like it. Oh, I like both those things.
You know,
Though I am more of a hamburger person, but
but hey, whatever. But feed
like me a
people.
good hot dog.
Feed people, they will come. You know, because that's going to be the problem too. You're going to have a hard time getting people. But always remember that, Josh. You want the crowd, you feed the people.
Yep. Yeah, it's a little more difficult. Well, yeah, it's a little more difficult now in these pandemic times. I did get my
Right.
first shot though. I'll be getting my second shot. I definitely wanted to get vaccinated before I was out and knocking. No matter what, I'm gonna be, wearing masks and being socially distanced.
Right.
But there's a lot of folks, so that's a lot of, we're not touching, but touch points. So I just
Yeah,
wanted to make sure I was set with that.
you might have to get yourself involved again in social media because it's such a dominating force, you know?
Yeah, and definitely if I were to be elected, I would be on social media as an alder. But again, I'm really good at compartmentalizing things in my mind. So as long as I go,
Right.
okay, this is this, and this is what this focuses on,
Uh-huh.
I'm set. But when it's the rest of my brain and it's just like, well, you can focus on whatever you want. It focuses
Yeah,
on stupid things that I can't change sometimes.
right.
So
Okay, let's do some house cleaning things.
okay.
Um, do you want to tell me anything that you haven't told me that we haven't talked about? Do you have anything pressing in your mind that
Be friendly to your neighbor, say hello, get to know them. That
pick
would
up the
be my
trash?
suggestion. Yep, pick up the trash, wave to a stranger on the street and smile,
Yeah,
compliment someone on their
wear a
dog.
mask.
Like, yep, wear a
Okay.
mask,
Yeah.
get vaccinated. I have a phobia of needles. I got the shot. I was terrified. So, I got the appointment and it was like a week away.
Uh-huh.
Essentially was having a panic attack every single day, and then I actually ended up getting in early, so they gave me a shout and they said, we've got extra vaccines, could you get down here right now?
Ha ha ha! That was good. Then you don't
I
have
know
to think
it
about it. You know.
I know,
You
and
don't
it
have
and
the
it was
time.
it was beneficial,
Yeah.
but yeah, so then went in, sat down, uh you know hyped myself up, cried a little, not out of pain, just out of stress.
Yeah,
Got
yeah.
the shot, didn't even feel it, was fine.
There you go. Like a
And
real grown up.
yeah. And it's not that shots hurt. I don't think they're painful. It's just my mind for some reason goes, oh, you got a shot? Time to pass out.
Yeah, my mind can make things so much worse than what they really are.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So do me a favor. What are you reading right now?
Oh, so at the moment I am rereading, because it's a very weighty book, so I have to read it a couple of times through. So it's City, Urbanism and Its End, and it's actually about New Haven. This is a fabulous
Really?
book. I would suggest everyone who can reread it or read it first time around.
And I'll bet you can get that from your local library.
Oh, absolutely. And now that the library's open, I actually have to go back there because there's a book that I want to check out, and I keep on forgetting the name of it, which is very frustrating because I want to buy a copy. But it's about how the criminal justice system in Connecticut specifically developed and changed over the years, and a lot of the effects that it has had on different segments of community.
Ah,
I find it to be incredibly educational.
this ought to
'Cause
be fascinating. Having you as an author is going to be very, very fascinating. And I mean that in a very good way. I believe that new blood is needed, and I think you're the blood. Now,
well, I hope so.
tell me, one of the things that I've asked everybody that we've done this, give me a hero, and it has to be someone of some notoriety. It can't be like you're dead on Gertrude, but tell me somebody living or dead who is your hero.
Oh my goodness, hero.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I haven't thought about this sort of thing for.
And I'm going to figure out why I'm so fuzzy. I don't like that.
Guess hero. Um, Hero. There's a lot of people I respect and like to emulate.
Hmm. Hero.
I guess I've never been a huge superhero or
Oh,
hero.
stop it. Come on. Just a hero.
Okay, so just a hero. We'll go. I mean this. I mean, someone I respect and wanted to emulate was Thomas Paine.
Oh, brother.
I know it's super lame, but I'm a super lame person. No, because I think he does some system analysis that I think is very humanistic.
Uh-huh.
And it had a really big impression on me. And
Well, what
so
was that thing he wrote?
Common
What was
Sense.
it? There you go. Thank you.
Yep. I
I
have
read
a
that.
copy of it on my bookshelf.
Yeah, I do
Um,
too.
I've got a bunch of weird books on my bookshelf, but
Well, you saw some of ours, right? So that's a hero. Um, I just want this so badly for you, Josh. I swear to God, give us an email for where people can donate. Do you have an
yeah,
email and give me an email where people can write, ask you questions, all that kind of stuff?
yep, absolutely. So
And
you can
address, phone number, any of that crap, you know. Ooh, Josh at ward26.us.
yep, because it's
Okay,
us.
cool.
We're all in this together.
Oh, kumbaya, buddy,
And .com was taken and really expensive to try and get from whoever currently owns it, so I didn't really care.
Okay, and he's frugal too, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, if you can accomplish the same goal for less money, spend
right.
less money.
And do you have a personal email where people can write to you or no?
I do. I'm totally fine with giving it out. a lot of times things tend to go into the spam and the promotion folders, and I
Okay.
would really hate to miss someone's communications.
Okay. Do you have a Twitter account? No.
I do. It's at New Haven Josh.
Oh, okay. So why do we do that?
I don't tweet a lot.
No, I don't either.
Yeah.
But every so often I stop by.
Yes, there's a couple individuals that I like to follow on Twitter, which is my main thing. It's like a DFA, New Haven, and a couple other folks, because they tend to tweet like New Haven specific like history and development, and I just find it very interesting. Again, I'm not originally from New Haven, but I love history, so I wanted to learn as much as I could about it and how it came to be how it is.
Yeah, you know the book I was talking about, this Paris library book.
Yep.
That's a big thing for me. For some reason, in the last few years, I've gotten very involved with the Second World War, but not in terms of like the death camps and all that malarkey. I want to know about Enigma. I wanted to know about Winston Churchill, Alan Turing,
Gotcha.
the whole shebang. So yeah, and it's part of that process. Always been a huge history fan. Now, I have nothing else at this point.
Okay.
Give me a closing thought. Give me a closing line. You have to be able to do this from here on in, Josh, if you're going to be in the political arena. Tell me
Yeah,
something.
give me closing lines.
Well, speaking extemporaneously. You know what I mean?
So I mean, we're not necessarily in for an easy climb out of this hole, but we're all in this together, and if we put in the work now, we can help build a stable foundation for New Haven's future.
I hope so, Dal. I really, really do. Because I'll tell you what, I love this city. I love this city.
I super enjoy it. It's great. I spent time in New York. Too big, too noisy. I've been in
every city. I'm a city person. I'm from Chicago. I'm a city person, but I love New Haven.
Yeah.
I love New Haven, and unfortunately, in the last dozen years, I can't do what I used to do. You know what I mean? And I want New Haven to be back to the way New Haven was.
Yeah,
I know. Let's plan to do this again. Down the road when we need to, and we'll do it again. And maybe we can even talk about doing a group. What the hell?
Yeah.
We're
getting there.
Let's think outside the box, all right, my darling. I thoroughly enjoy having you in my life. I'm thrilled to know you. The future is going to be very exciting, and I'm definitely going to be in a front row seat.
Well,
have a lovely weekend. What is your girlfriend's name? Just her
Linny.
first name. Linny?
Yep.
How cute is that?
It's fabulous.
I love that name. I always said to Alex, her name is Alexandra. Her middle name is my mother's maiden name, and then Nofi. So I always said Alexandra was the first present I ever gave her. And I love that name. So it's Linny?
Yep.
Linny. Well, you and Linny have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, my darling. All right?
We shall. You as well.
All right, babe. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you later.
Bye.